Hi, I'm Roy Hudson. Stand by for Sean. It'll make your day bright.
Welcome to Look Around Florida. I'm your host, Sean McFaw, aka the Florida Man. I'm glad y'all could be here this evening. I got Michael. He's behind the scenes right now, the Texas Division Commander, the one that's involved with the national reunion coming in July. So he's behind the scenes right now. Hey, Bob. Hey, Ronnie. Jeffro. Wow. Hey, Linda Wilford. Good to see all of you. Uh, so I did want to give a couple updates. I just got a couple messages from Lieutenant Commander David King of the Florida Mechanized Cavalry, and I got an update from Bob Highball as soon as I find it. Okay, I just had it up. I don't know what I did with it. Must have been yeah, it was in an email. Sorry, Bob. I have a lot of stuff going on. Most of you know me well enough. Bobby Van Zant's in the house. Roy Hudson, Keith Crew, Geiger. Keith, correct me if I'm wrong. In 2 weeks, get ready, guys. We got the division reunion in 2 weeks. A week from this Friday. And as soon as the email uploaded, hey Al from the Tennessee division, glad you could be here tonight. Jimbo. Well, I want to give a shout out to Jim Odell. It was his birthday a couple of days ago, so please wish him a happy birthday in the chat. All right, this is an update on the division reunion from Bob Highball. We currently have 70 people registered at the reunion. You can still register for the division reunion on the website. Online and person registration will be accepted up to the day of the event, June 7th. Registration at www.floridadivisionreunion.com. We have sold 93 tickets to the banquet. You cannot buy tickets online anymore, but they Bob will have a few available once you guys check in credentials. Or you can email Bob Highball at scvcamp1865@gmail.com. For tickets to the Chaplain Prayer Breakfast Sunday morning, also available. Tickets to the Friday evening reception at the Host Hotel at the Ocala Hilton will be available at the door the evening of the event. Recipients will run from 7 to 9:30 p.m. Bob Highball and the Camp 1865. They're at Ocala. Looking forward to seeing all of us. Keith, you forgot an A. There's no E in mine. I know you're giving me a hard time. Hey, Talisa, good to see you. So this was sent to me. Let me get to it. All right, guys. Saturday, June the 28th at 10 a.m. Linden Cemetery picnic. Tickets are $2 each, but it doesn't tell me who to contact. First prize, second prize, and third prize. Okay. None of detail on that, but I'll get with Captain King later this week and get more details. I'm looking forward to seeing all you a week from Friday. We're gonna blow the doors off. All right, guys. Hey, Dylan, good to see you. Hey, Leon. Please give a warm welcome to the Texas Division Commander, Michael Hurley. Or did I pronounce it wrong?
Hey,
How you doing this evening, sir?
I am blessed and so thankful to be here, Sean. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to spending a little time with my compatriots from Florida.
Oh well, well, welcome that you can be available tonight for us.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I've been looking forward to it since you reached out to me. I guess it was about a week ago you reached out, and I was so thankful it worked for both of us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Our AOT councilman Roy Hudson says hi.
Hey, hi, Roy. Thank you for your service. I know it's got to be challenging with all the travel that's required and the dedication that it takes to do what you're doing, and we appreciate it.
Hey, Michael, you get a little shindig coming up in July.
Yes, sir, we do. Um, Trying to think where the best place to start. I guess we'll go back to about 18 months, 2 years ago. Commander Bouchers put out something on Facebook, I believe it was, Commander in Chief Bouchers, that they had I think, a last minute cancellation on a division or camp that was hosting the 2025 reunion. And of course, they were concerned about it because it was around a year and a half until convention time. And he just said, if you have any interest, contact me. So I reached out to him privately, and he said, yeah, we would love for Texas to take a look at providing us information on how the division or the national reunion might work. And so I started that process. And hopefully I'm going to be able to answer all of your questions easily, because I have not been very good at delegating. I really have done probably 90% of everything on the convention slash reunion coming up for us here in July. And not that others haven't been willing to help, and I have passed the buck on certain things, but as we get closer, I'll do that with more of our compatriots here in Texas. But I really have been responsible for every aspect of it so far. So I'm hoping I can answer any questions that you guys might have. But we went through the process and we were awarded by the convention in 2023 for the 2025 national reunion. And then last year it was great going to Charleston. I had been to several national reunions, but that one was quite different for me because I was going in not as much as a participant as I normally do, but kind of observing everything that was going on in Charleston, how they went about doing it, what I could learn from the things that they were doing, and had a great time in doing that. I'm quite sure, next year's reunion will be in Kentucky. I'm quite sure we'll have a number of men from Kentucky that'll probably be following me around a little bit. Not that I'm worth following around, but just trying to see how we're doing things. And you never know, Texas may end up being a great example of Kentucky of how not to do things. But that's my goal is certainly for that not to be the case. So I've worked really hard on it, and I'm really excited about it. So to begin with, reunion will begin on the 17th of July and go through Saturday the 19th. The hotel, of course, is available to us on Sunday the 20th, and there are transfers to the airport if you're flying in. But really, the reunion ends on the 19th with the grand ball and banquet. We will have debutantes this year. Our debutantes are smaller in number than they were last year, but I'm proud to say we have two debutantes this year, and both of them are from Texas. I know both of the young ladies. They're wonderful ladies, and one of them is almost like a daughter to me, although her daddy would appreciate me saying that because I know how much he loves her. But Mary Page Jones is going to be one of our debutantes. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. If I can back up a little bit, Houston, Texas is unique. It is a big city. That's the one thing I don't like about it. It is a big city, but really, if you take a look at once you guys arrive, you'll see that everything that we need is right there in the hotel or in the vicinity of the hotel. Got excellent food at the hotel and a number of restaurants you can imagine at a city the size of Houston, number of restaurants in the area, as well as shopping for the ladies if they decide they want to get out a little bit. But we're going to be in Houston, Texas, where we have the home of great Mexican food and awesome barbecue. And I have actually eaten both at great restaurants just a few miles from the location. So there's a lot to do, and I'm really excited about the host venue. So let me tell you a little bit about that. And by the way, Sean, if I ramble too much, just stop me. Won't offend me at all.
No, we have a question that came up from
Yeah.
Jerry Peacock asking regard their color guard. Do you need a drummer?
Ah, great, great, great. Normally I would think that I would, but I've been so fortunate that we have a color guard from nearby Houston in the city of Conroe. Those of you who are familiar with Texas, Conroe is basically almost a suburb now. Houston has gotten so big, but the Conroe camp is providing our color guard, Jerry, and it's 21 members large, has a bagpiper, their color guard, and a drummer and a bugler. So I'm really excited about what they're able to help us with. And so right now we don't have a need for another instrumentalist, but I sure appreciate you offering. And normally we would. This is the largest color guard in the division, and it's from the Conroe camp. It's not the division color guard. Our division color guard is a mounted color guard here in Texas. And as much as I love those men, we couldn't get all those horses in the hotel. So the color guard for Conroe is helping us out there, and of course they do a great job in it. And it's clear with the size they have, they've really worked hard to be able to put together a color guard that they're proud of, that they've had for several years now. So I hope that answers your question. Looks like he said sounds great.
Yep.
But what I was going to tell you, the thing that I was really encouraged about, gentlemen, I wanted y'all to hear this, is that when I went in for the site visit about 18 months ago to this hotel, and this is a Marriott hotel near the Houston Hobby Airport. So first, if you're flying in, I strongly encourage you to fly into Houston Hobby, Hobby Airport. We have two large airports in Houston. The other one is Houston Intercontinental. And Intercontinental is a great airport. It's just about a 45-minute drive on the other side of town. So if you can find rates that are great on flights, I really would encourage you to look at Houston Hobby. Hobby is only about 5 minutes from the hotel, and they have a free shuttle that runs back and forth for us if you do fly into Hobby. So if you're like me, though, I drive every year. And so it doesn't really matter which side of town it's on. I'm going to drive one way or the other. But if you are flying, please choose Houston Hobby. But we were at the Marriott. When I came in for my site visit, one of the things I was so impressed with was the fact that without me saying a word or even asking them, they had our SCV logo, and we all know our beautiful logo contains the battle flag, and they had our SCV logo shining on the floor of the entranceway of the lobby. And I could tell right then that they really wanted our business, and they weren't offended by our Confederate flag. And so that really meant a lot to me just to start. And they said, Michael, we went online, we found your logo on the website, we projected it there. We want you to know we want your business, and it'll be projected on the floor every day that the convention is being held. So think about that. This hotel is so large that the entire hotel is not just our members. And so they're willing to have that flag in the middle of our logo be right there, front and center, for anybody that comes in the hotel that weekend. The other thing that I really like is in this hotel, and each hotel makes its own rules in Texas, but in this hotel, we're allowed to carry sidearms, because I know a lot of people carry concealed weapons. I guess some may carry non-concealed. It doesn't matter to me. The point is, you don't have to check those at the door when you come into the Marriott. So I was appreciative of that too, because I think that means a lot to several of our members. So it started off well, and we're really excited to have it there. And everything that we have going on, essentially outside of the tours themselves, are going to occur right there in the hotel. And so if you're a person that loves to visit with your fellow compatriots, there's really so much going on there. You could park on Thursday and really not leave the facility unless you wanted to go outside the facility, like I said, to have a meal or do some shopping, because everything is located right there. So once you get checked into your room, you're not having to travel a lot outside of the tours that we have involved. And of course, all of our tours are on air-conditioned motor coaches, so nobody will have to do any driving that they don't want to do, especially in Houston, because the traffic can be bad around rush hour, like any major metropolitan city. What other questions do you have for me? I'll be happy to share.
To touch up on one of the remarks you made about the restaurants, I got asked today to ask you if there's any restaurants within walking distance of the hotel.
Yeah, I would say that there are not restaurants within walking distance of the hotel. But obviously, Uber is available for any of us to get around a little bit. There are some great restaurants. I've eaten at two of them, as I mentioned earlier. One was barbecue and one was Tex-Mex Mexican, and they were less than 5 minutes away. But I don't recall there being a restaurant that is literally in walking distance from the hotel. I did sample all the food that we're going to be partaking of, and I know that they were trying to win our business. But if that food can even be 3/4 as good as what they serve me, you're going to be real happy with the food in the hotel. I was surprised. I was expecting to get rubber chicken and mashed potatoes, and that wasn't the case. And so I think that if somebody was concerned about not wanting to get out, that I think you'll be fine with the hotel food. And surprisingly, it's not ridiculous on price. They
Oh,
have a
okay, that's
breakfast
good to know.
buffet. They have a breakfast buffet. If I remember correctly, it was right at $14. And for a hotel, that's pretty good. Um, so I'm sure if you ate any other meals there, it might be more expensive. But I was certainly impressed with the food, and as you could tell by looking at me, I've eaten a few meals, so I know I know good food when we find it.
A question did come up. Uh, how about any vendors? Have you had quite a bit of
Yeah,
vendors?
yeah, our vendor room has sold out, and we spilled out into the lobby just outside of the vendor room. And the vendor room is not located downstairs, upstairs. The vendor room is on the opposite side of the hotel lobby from where all of our main ballroom meetings will take place. And that was one thing that I really liked. Not being critical of any other reunion that we've had in the past. Sometimes the facility just doesn't have a choice. But I remember one reunion we had to go downstairs, upstairs, and across to a different building to get to the vendors. And I bet it wasn't good for the vendors either. So our vendors are all right there across from the main ballroom. Also, it's just the other side of the lobby, still a part of the major lobby of the hotel. And right now, I have 23 vendors, and I have 4 that are hoping to get in if somebody has a cancellation. And I do have room for
Wow.
other vendors. I do have room for other vendors, but they're in an unsecured area. Of course, most vendors don't prefer that because they want to be able to leave all of their stuff out on their display and be able to lock the door when we leave. And so we have had 3 actually spill out over into the lobby just right outside the vendors room. But yeah, vendors have gone well, and I've been grateful for that because that's part of what helps us make sure that we're not losing money from a financial standpoint for the reunion. Oh, and by the way, it's the Texas division that's hosting the reunion. And that's a little bit unusual. It's not a camp or a brigade this year. It's
Wow.
the whole division. So when you send your money in, for example, it's going to my division adjutant who does an outstanding job. And I've been really thankful for all the work he does because that's not one of my strengths. I think if God forbid I should be lost for eternity, God would put me in punishment with the devil doing Excel spreadsheets forever because that's just not something I enjoy, but it is something he enjoys. But Richard Smoot is our division adjutant. He's handling all the funds for us. And again, it's the Texas division as a whole that's hosting the reunion this year.
Wow. Uh, the question I have with going to Arkansas, Charleston, and that,
Mhm.
uh, will you put out information prior to the reunion on camp flags and where to meet?
Okay. Hey, great question. I appreciate you asking that. I will, but here I've really thought this over because I love the parade of camp flags, and I've tried to think how can we do it more effective. And it is a challenge, Sean, because I want you to think about it. A lot of us won't show up until the last 12 hours to 24 hours at the most, really, prior
Mhm.
to the opening ceremonies. And so, typically, what we do is we try our best to get everybody together and throw together a ceremony that'll bring dignity to the camps that are there and also won't look disorganized. And that has been a challenge. You know, last year, I know it was a challenge. I was a part of the parade of camp flags last year in Charleston, and I really started thinking, how can I do this better? So this is what I came up with. So I thought I would really like to have each camp's name actually called before they proceed down the main aisle of the auditorium to be recognized. And I thought, well, that's going to be a challenge because we have probably several camps that would be difficult for a Texan to pronounce if they're not from that division. And so what I came up with is simply this. We are going to have an organizational meeting, say 7:30 that morning, but it's going to be so easy. I don't even know that you have to attend the meeting to know how to participate. So we're going to invite everybody that possibly would like to bring their camp flags. Prior to the opening ceremony, we're going to have whoever that is that brought their flag choose a spot around the outside of the ballroom where they'll post their colors after they go through the ceremony. And I don't care where they're at. They don't have to be in chronological order or alphabetical order or by division, just wherever they want to find a spot to post their colors after they walk through. And then we're going to have 2 wireless mics at the reunion. So I chose to use one of those at the head of the camp parade of flags. And what we're going to do simply is hand the microphone to the compatriot from that camp and let him call out his camp name, number, and division. That way I know they're pronounced properly and that they get recognized in a way that brings credit to the work they did to get their camp flag there. And so we're going to have each person that's carrying a camp, division, or brigade flag step up to the microphone in no particular order, because I'm trying to keep it simple, call out their camp name and number and where they're from, and proceed down. And we're going to have about a 5-second interval between each camp flag. So we need to keep them moving, but I also want the camp flags to be recognized distant enough from one another that we can hear and we can think through, hey, we've got a camp here from Florida, or we have a camp from Kentucky, or we have a camp from Virginia, wherever that is. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now that will occur after the posting of the colors and the pledges and things that we typically do with the opening prayer. But to me, it's going to be the highlight, is to see all those camp flags come in from all over the Confederation, and each of them have an opportunity, which we've not had in the past since I've been going, to actually have our camp name and number called, and have it called properly by one of those that's from that actual camp. So, and then they'll move around at a fairly moderate pace. I don't want them to be fast, but I don't want to walk like we're in a wedding. But we'll move down to the front in front of Commander Kennedy. And I'm going to ask Commander Kennedy to stand while the parade of flags is coming in, because I want him to recognize each of those camps. And then you'll move to the right and you'll circle wherever you had originally placed the holder for your flag. They'll post the colors, and that'll be the end of the parade. So I hope that makes sense. I've really thought, how can I make this different? How can I improve this and also keep it simple and easy? Just because we're so spread out, it's almost impossible to get word out to everybody that might come and give any kind of detailed instruction. So I think what I've got is a winner. We'll just have to wait and see. So that answer your question?
Pretty much. I think Roddy's question was, can we announce our city and state along with our camp name and number?
Okay. Yeah, I would really prefer that. I think that's part of the thrill of being able to go to the reunion, is to hear where all of these different camps are, and not only that, but it's that moment that camp gets recognized. Each and every camp in the Sons of Confederate Veterans is valuable and important, from the smallest to the biggest. And if someone made the effort to bring that flag, I really want to bring some honor to it. And that's why I'm going to ask Commander Kennedy to stand and recognize, all it would take is something simple as a nod to each camp, a flag as they came by. But I really think there's some value in that. So absolutely, I wouldn't want to just have a name and number without where they're from.
Cool. I like that idea a lot. Yeah, just like you said, nobody's going to pronounce the camp name right other than the person in that camp. I love that idea.
Well, I would imagine we could pronounce probably 75% of them right, but you and I both know there are probably going to be some cities and some names, particularly because so many of our camps are named after Confederate veterans. And some of them may have a little bit of an unusual name. For 4 years, I lived in the Arkansas Division. I was a commander of the camp in Fayetteville, and the camp there was named after the Major Fontaine R. Earl camp. I love that name, but that was the major's name. It's unusual. And if you weren't from that camp, you might have a little trouble pronouncing Fontaine R. Earl.
And don't
So
feel
yeah,
bad, people.
I had to come with it. All right, can I
No,
talk to you about something else I'm trying to do that's innovative, that
go ahead.
is different? And so I just want you guys to have an open mind as you listen. When I was in Charleston last year, I was probably in the first third of the group as the doors were open for the grand ball and banquet. So I was not in the back of the room by any means. I was probably in the first third of the number of people that came through the doors when the doors were opened. And when I came into the room at Charleston, again, I'm not being critical of Charleston. I'm just saying I learned. There were, I would say, I don't want to exaggerate, 70% of the tables already had people there who had turned over every chair. And no matter what I did, you are not sitting here. And to the point that a lady was actually rude to me. About, you are not welcome to sit at my table. And I immediately went to the far edge of the room, and there were still tables with chairs turned over. And so I've thought about that. And so here's what we're going to do, because this is a little bit different. Our first lieutenant commander, who will likely be our commander by the time we get to the reunion, because he's running unopposed currently, Shelby Little, he's our first lieutenant commander currently. He is a retired colonel in the Army and has an analytical background, and he volunteered. He's going to make, and they're going to be large, and they're going to be in the foyer throughout the entire reunion, and of course right before the banquet. But we're going to have a seating chart for everybody that's registered at the reunion. Now, I know that can cause some problems, because somebody's going to say, well, I don't want to sit next to Michael Hurley. I want to sit next to Sean. He's in my camp. I understand that. And we're going to try to keep people from the same division as close as possible. But all we're asking people to do is, if you don't want to sit next to the person you're at, look on the chart, find the table you want to go sit at, find that person and ask them if they'd be willing to switch, just like we do on an airplane. Sometimes my wife and I get in different seats, and we'll ask if a gentleman would mind making a move so we could sit next to each other. And they have the option to say no. But I think most of us are more than willing to work with one another if there's somebody really special you want to sit next to. But I quite frankly, Sean, I was a little embarrassed by the attitudes of a few I saw last year. And I'm trying to do what I can to eliminate that this year. I know it's not perfect solution if we have a seating chart, but at least it's a start. And every single person will know they have a chair to sit in.
Yeah.
And I think there's some value in that, because I had two compatriots with me last year. It was their very first reunion. They were new members of the SCV, did not leave a good taste in their mouth, and we were unable to sit next to each other at all because of the way people were turning over and holding chairs. So I'm just trying to eliminate that. I hope people will be kind about it and that they'll work with us on it. And I also want to recognize and thank Shelby Little for going through all the trouble it'll take, because he won't even be able to do that chart until probably the last week before the reunion, because people are going to continue to register, as we get closer and closer. And we want them to do that. But the work he's going to put in is going to be quite tremendous. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm hoping that we're going to be able to eliminate that problem. And I'm hoping everybody will work together. If you happen to be at a table where maybe you wanted to sit with somebody else, let's just work together, be polite, ask if somebody wants to switch and move. But nobody will have to, and everybody will know what table they're going to and what seat belongs to them before that door ever opens. There won't be any rush to tables. There won't be anybody saying, you can't sit here. These are saved, that type of thing. I'm going to do everything I can to eliminate that. And I'm praying the Lord will bless us and that will go well. But I wanted everybody to know about that, because that's kind of probably the most radical thing I'm doing at the reunion, because I've never seen that done before. And if everybody will act like compatriots and ladies with them at the reunion, we shouldn't have any problem at all. But we'll just have to wait and see. But there is going to be a seating chart only for the main banquet at the end of the reunion. There won't be any seating chart for any other event. None of the luncheons, none of the business meetings, opening ceremony, be always like we've had it. I'm just trying to eliminate what was really at least in my opinion, and I'm running the thing, so I got to put my opinions in, was a really bad situation last year. So we'll see.
Well, that's the thing about these national reunions. You go to them and say your camp division wants to put one on. You can learn from what worked good for another camp. May not necessarily.
We'll see. Well, I'm trying, and it may not work, and we won't, and they won't ever do it again. I don't know, because it's left up to the division or to the reunion hosts. So it's not something that will guarantee to go on in the future. But I'm just trying to find a solution to what I thought was a problem last year. I did share that with the reunion time and place committee at the national level, and they saw the problem, but they said they didn't know if a seating chart was the solution either. But they said we'll leave it up to you. So they'll probably just kind of measure how it goes, whether they'll recommend the use of that in the future. But we are going to try that this year and see if it helps.
Another question came up. This hotel's not going to have any type of construction, right?
No, sir. No construction at all. I'm glad to say. Having said that, though, when I first visited the hotel, they were in the process of a complete renovation. This is, I wouldn't say old, but it's older hotel. I bet you it was built in the late 70s. And it was totally renovated. Every room, every bathroom, every ballroom, all the carpet. It really is like a new hotel. And that was finished summer of 2024, which I thought was perfect. Of course, I've been there several times, guys. I've probably been there, stayed overnight there 3 times this year. So, and sometimes they didn't know I was coming because I wanted to see how things operate and what's going on there. So I'm very happy so far. And yeah, everything's been renovated. There's no construction going on this year at all.
Well, yeah, that was the biggest concern I heard out of Charleston is how our members, not just Florida, but in general, members they reserved rooms. They get there and they weren't notified about an overflow or anything like that.
That gentleman, I believe his last name was Little, compatriot Little is what I want to say. I just felt so sorry for him. I know how hard he worked, and that was outside of his control. And so, I don't know what to say except I loved Charleston. I had a great time at that reunion, and I really hate that some of those struggles happened for the host committee. And I'm not going to say never. We could have problems, but I don't anticipate any. And I've certainly been on top of trying to make sure that I've worked every way I can to eliminate any of those coming up.
Cool. So, as far as registration goes, how many people do you got registered already?
Hey, that's a great question. Let me pull it up real quick. I got it right here. Currently, we've got 212 members that have registered. That doesn't include guests. So I would guess we're around, I'm guessing here, with spouses, maybe 350 if we have 212 compatriots. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration, which I don't think is too bad considering we're asking our compatriots to go all the way to Texas. For a lot of our organization, that's a long way, and it's not an election year. Election year is going to bring a good turnout because people want to have their voice heard. We're going to be doing bylaws and things this year. So I'm proud of that. And I know that they're really streaming in right now. So having said that, I want to give you guys an update. Just got notice actually this morning. But we have 3 tours, and our tour to San Jacinto sold out this morning. We also have a second tour. It's going to Galveston. I've got 22 seats left on the buses for that tour. And then our ladies tour, we've got plenty of room on our ladies tour. I've got room for 40 more ladies. I've got right at 60 ladies on my tour so far. My wife is running that one. So we're real happy with where that's going. And I was surprised the San Jacinto tour sold out so quickly. It's been interesting to me that a lot of folks who are not from Texas were really fascinated and eager to see the battlefield there where Santa Anna was defeated and Texas won its independence. And the reason I say that is I know that we all love history, but I didn't know how much interest there would be in Texas history since the San Jacinto field is not a field from the war for Southern independence. But what we did, by the way, was we went and visited with them at the battlefield, and we met with the curator, and they agreed to pull out artifacts for us that are related to the war. There were quite a number of Texans who fought at San Jacinto, who later were significant leaders of the Texas troops in the war. And what was interesting to me was we even had, they said a lot of times after the San Jacinto veterans died, that their families donated artifacts to the archives at San Jacinto. And there is actually an original tintype picture of A.P. Hill, believe it or not, in the archives of San Jacinto. And they showed it to me, and then they're going to have that on display there. So I'm really excited about that. And we were able to kind of pull in quite a bit of history, quite a bit of, because they're going to be rifles, pistols, two swords, officers' swords that were all used by Confederate troops in defense of Texas that originally fought at San Jacinto. Even the lock of Confederate veterans' hair, they showed me just all kinds of things. And again, I would have never thought that the archives of San Jacinto would have as much items as it relates to our struggle for Southern independence, but they did, and they're going to pull those out just for us. So I'm really, really excited about that. But that tour is sold out. The one to Galveston, to me, is the better tour. The problem with Galveston is it also includes a very nice seafood dinner, and so the price is higher, and everybody's watching their dollars. I know I am. So my San Jacinto tour is $80, and the tour to Galveston is $100, and that makes a difference when we're all watching our budgets. So, but that Galveston tour is a great tour. It's going to feature a lecture on the Battle of Galveston by a local author who's going to have his book available for sale on the Battle of Galveston. He's a Texas Division SCV member. And then we're going to go down to Galveston, and we're going to tour a portion of the city where you can still see the remnants of the battle itself. And it's a shaded walk, because I'm very concerned about heat in Texas in August. But it's a shaded walk of about a block in downtown Galveston. Then we're going to a wonderful seafood dinner, and that's really where most of our dollars went. Just want you to know that dinner alone is about $45 for us, and we negotiated a discount. So it's a really nice seafood dinner. And then following that, now we're getting later into the evening. Right about dusk, we're going to have a tour of the cemetery, of the city cemetery, where we have 3 Confederate generals, numerous Confederate officers buried, and enlisted men. And what's fascinating about that, and then I'll let you give me some more questions. I'm talking a lot, but if you're familiar with Galveston history, I believe the year was 1906. I could be wrong on that, but Galveston was almost completely destroyed by a Category 5 or 4 or 5 hurricane. And as a result, the city fathers, after that hurricane, made a decision to literally lift the city up, make it higher, so that when the next hurricanes came, it wouldn't be as devastating, by almost 8 feet. And what's fascinating about the cemetery is that they also, after they finished working the city, they raised the cemetery as well. And I was walking with the lady that's going to have our tour. She's a UDC member. And we were walking through the cemetery, Sean, and she said, I want you to notice this pyramid. And I looked at the ground, and there was a large pyramid, concrete, looked like a concrete or marble pyramid. She said, that is the top of an obelisk that's 8 feet down. After the hurricane, that family could not be found or did not have the means. And so when they raised the cemetery, if the family hadn't paid for it, those headstones were not raised. So it's a fascinating tour of the history of Galveston, and it's going to be focused on the Confederate veterans that are buried there. And I really think it is unique. Now, probably not as unique or as beautiful as what we might find in New Orleans, in the old cemeteries there, but certainly Galveston has its share of history, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with everybody.
Now, in that cemetery, is there other headstones in that cemetery besides the one you're talking about that were not raised up?
Yes, sir. There are quite a number of them. If they couldn't find the family, or the family didn't have the means to pay for it, then those stones weren't raised. Now, they do have records of where they're at, but a lot of them, of course, you can't see the top of them like we could with this one, because it was a very tall stone. but I found that fascinating. I've never, I love working in cemeteries, as I'm sure a lot of members do. And I've never been in a cemetery quite like that one. There's probably another one out there, but I've never been to one like it. It was really unique. And we're trying to go late in the evening, like I said, close to dusk, so that the heat's not quite as bad. And I'm hoping we have good weather, but I'm just always preparing for hot weather in Texas when it comes to mid-July,
Yep, hot
So I'm pretty
and
excited
wet.
about that. All right, one other thing that we haven't publicized a lot that I want everybody to know about, and notice I'm saying this, gentlemen, because it doesn't happen very often. This has no cost to it whatsoever, but I was recommended by our Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, Tony Griffin, of a man that maybe some of you know. I did not know him prior to this, but he's an actor from New York City by the name of Patrick Fauci. And Patrick portrayed A.P. Hill in the movie Gettysburg. And since that time, of course, he's continued to do acting jobs, but his work and his love of A.P. Hill has grown, and he goes all over the country speaking at Civil War roundtables and SCV meetings, UDC meetings, anywhere he can get an opportunity when he's not working as an actor. And he still, this man looks exactly like A.P. Hill. And he's going to be coming. We invited him to come at our expense, and he's going to give a lecture on the life of A.P. Hill on Friday night, starting at 7 o'clock. And that'll be for right about 45 minutes, just prior to the oratory contest that will begin at 8 o'clock. Now, Patrick is very, very enthusiastic. And he said, Michael, he said, am I only speaking once? I said, yeah, I've got you lined up. I've got you a great spot. 7 o'clock at night, right before the oratory contest. We ought to have a good turnout. No cost to come to hear his lecture. He said, well, I was really hoping to do 2. And he said, how long does the oratory contest last? I said, well, it can be 10:30 or so or later, He said, well, why don't you line me up at 11 o'clock? He said, I don't care if I only have 5 people there. He said, but I want to give a lecture, and he has all of his PowerPoint and everything on what it was like going through the making of Gettysburg, his experience going through the making of that movie, his interaction with the other actors, and things along those lines. And I thought that was so interesting that I told him we would do that. So after the oratory contest is over, and I know a lot of us are tired by then, but anybody that would like to stay, he's going to be talking about his experience in portraying A.P. Hill in the movie. And then prior to that, he'll have a more formal lecture where he's actually portraying in first person A.P. Hill. And that's all happening on the Friday of the reunion, that Friday night.
Cool.
So I'm kind of excited about that. By the way, he's from New York, but he told me, he said, I graduated college from Abilene Christian University in Abilene. I said, how did a New Yorker get to Abilene? And he's such an interesting person, Sean. He said, I just always loved the Old West. And so I found a college and it said Abilene, Texas. And I applied and moved just to be a part of what it's like to live in Texas for a few years. He's a fascinating person, very interesting, very talented, has no cost at all. And he's going to be lecturing twice on Friday night, 7 o'clock formally as A.P. Hill, and 11 o'clock if anybody would like to hear about his adventures in his part in making the movie Gettysburg.
Wow, that sounds very interesting.
Well,
Especially
Tony really spoke highly of him, and then every time I've talked to him, he's been super enthusiastic and I could tell very intelligent. Obviously, I guess as a professional actor, he's extremely well spoken, and so it ought to be a real treat and something that we haven't been pushing or highlighting as much on the website. That's really my fault, but that's something that we've got that's going to be a part of our reunion that people may not have thought about or known about so far.
Well, they do now. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. The camps in the area are very excited. I chartered. We were fortunate enough to have a chartering ceremony for a new camp this past Saturday. They're in Houston, actually just on the outskirts. They're actually located in Tomball, Texas. But I challenged them at the end of the meeting. There's only 9 of them. They were all there for the chartering, and I said, I want to give you guys a task right away. And they took the task, and they're going to be providing ice chests and ice water for us for all of our tours. so that everybody will have plenty of water to drink if they need it. And I thought that was pretty neat to see the camps that are in that Houston area really excited about supporting this and helping us with it. And I'm looking forward to all of you getting to meet them. By the way, if you go on a tour and you do get to meet them, they are the 4th Texas Frontier Battery based out of Tomball, Texas. They took their namesake, and I thought that was a really great name and unique. And so we're looking forward to introducing you to folks like that.
Wow. Jeb, I mean, as long as Commander Hurley or nobody objects to it, I could go live for the AP Hill speaker, but
Oh, of course, I
yeah,
have no
that's
problem with it.
okay.
We want to ask him, but I don't think he would either.
Yeah, you're the boss. And I know the guys from SCV Chat will be filming, or they have filmed in the past, opening ceremonies for the
Yeah.
national reunion.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward. We're going to have a bagpipe. A great bagpiper we have out of San Antonio is going to be here, and then, like I said, the color guard is massive. I mean, for a camp to have a color guard that size, pretty impressive. I'm looking forward to working with them and showing them off to all of you. Now, one thing you need to know, folks, is that in Texas, we do have a pledge to the Texas flag. It's very simple, but we never meet in Texas without having our pledge. So the words will be thrown up on the screen, and don't say anything you don't agree with, but once you know, we will have a pledge to the Texas flag during our opening ceremonies, or I'd get run out of the state. That's for sure.
Wow, that's cool.
So, by the way, tell you a little bit about me. I've been a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans for 29 years. I've been the commander for the last 2 years. My term comes to an end about 10 days from now. We're having our elections in 2 Saturdays at our division reunion. And we'll have a new commander. Our Constitution only allows a commander to serve 1 2-year term during his lifetime, and it's been a great 2 years. It's been an honor representing these men in Texas, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next commander and the work that he does, and also looking forward to once the reunion is over, really having a little bit more time to myself, because there's been a lot going on with being division commander, and then obviously as you all know, all the planning goes into our division reunion, and then coming right off of that into national reunion, where I'm responsible for the majority of that. I'm really looking forward to the second half of July, and I may even take a few days off from work.
I don't blame you. Have a little me time.
That's right.
Boy,
That's right.
sounds like you're busy, and I'm looking forward to it. I know a few people in the chat that are coming. We're all looking forward to it.
Well, guys, gentlemen, I know reunions are expensive. And I have worked so hard to try to make this more affordable. Unfortunately, it is impossible to have a reunion of this size and it be inexpensive. But if you'll take a look, I'm really proud to tell you, because I've been responsible for it. I've really negotiated with vendors, and I want you to know that every single item that there's a charge for, including our registration, is less this year than it was last year. Last year registration was $85. This year it's $75. If you haven't seen, next year in Kentucky registration is $100. And by the way, again, not being critical of others, I'm just saying I've really tried to do everything I can to make it as affordable as I could, while also putting on a reunion I think that we would be proud to be a part of. So there are some things I can't skimp on when it comes to putting a reunion on, but I really worked hard to at least have it be $5 less than it was the year before. And by the way, we're also talking about Houston versus Charleston. I mean, we all know the beauty of Charleston, the history of Charleston. And while I do love Texas, Houston does not have the history of Charleston. So in my mind, you should get to pay a little bit less to come to Texas than maybe you have in the past. And again, I know it's a sacrifice, and we have to budget and do things we can afford and watch what dollars we're spending. But I promise you, I've done everything I could to try to keep this as reasonable as I possibly could. And I am proud of the fact that again, registration is $10 less this year than last, and it's $25 less than what it's going to be next year when we travel to Kentucky and enjoy that reunion. So I really have worked hard to try to give us a time you'll enjoy without breaking the bank any worse than we have to. I don't know how else to say it.
But yeah, I mean, from me, I don't know how everybody else in the chat. I just want to thank you for putting it on for us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm really excited about it. It's something that I can do, and sometimes I think if you have that ability and you don't use it, that's not the right thing either. I know when it comes to my faith, I definitely feel that way. For example, not trying to brag, but I've always been able to sing, and so when I have opportunity to lead in worship, where I worship, I'm gonna lead. Not that I'm all that great, but if I have that ability and refuse to use it, is that really the right thing to do? And the same thing here. So very, very different circumstances. We're not talking about worship, of course, but if I can do it and we're in need of help, and 2 years ago we were with not having a reunion in place at that time, well, that's something I'm willing to do. I love the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And I'm so proud of all the work that you guys are accomplishing in Florida. By the way, I meant to tell you, you need to make me an honorary member. My daughter moved to Orlando, I guess 2 months ago. She got a job. She's works in Montessori education, and she got a job working there in Orlando. I moved her down there, and she's having a great time, of course, her and her husband. And they're even threatening. They've been married about a year. They're threatening to start a family. So I may be in Florida a whole lot if I end up with a grandson or granddaughter down there.
Well, one of our members from that OCR and UDC chapter is in the chat in
Oh,
Orlando.
great.
So if your daughter's looking for a chapter,
That's a great, because my daughter is a member of the UDC, and she lapsed her dues. She just needs to repay. My
yeah,
wife got her in several years ago. So, and she lives right there in Orlando, and she has loved it. She said it's really hot there right now. She did tell me that. And she's from Texas, so she tells me hot and humid. I'm listening. She said the locals have told her this is so far it's been a little bit warmer spring or early summer than they usually have. So she's been learning all about that.
Mrs. Massey, if you're in the chat still, there you go. Maybe a potential member for you.
Yeah, and a younger member. My daughter's, I think she's 33 years old.
Oh, okay.
We can always use those young ladies.
Yeah, because everybody in my camp, we're roughly around our late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. A lot of times even older, and that's fine though. Sometimes I just want to say this real quick, Sean. I've had some people say, Mike, I'm worried to death because the SCV in my camp is so old in age. I don't get discouraged by that. First, with age comes wisdom. Secondly, I want you to think about your life. God blessed me to raise 4 children. At one time, I had all 4 at home. And there wasn't time to participate in things from the community perspective that I can do now that I'm an empty nester. And so I don't fret about ours being a little bit older organization, because I truly feel like there are men coming behind us that as their lives change and they have more time, they're going to find us if we're doing a good job of recruiting and letting people know we're out there. And in turn, for every young man that we have out there, we need to appreciate them, encourage them, and do everything we can to mentor them as they work with us. But I don't get discouraged about us being older. I truly believe that there are those coming up every year that it's a better time in their life to take a look at getting involved in the SCV. When I was raising 4 children, I was a member of the SCV, but I have more time to be a part now than I did ever did then, especially those that are young, working, climbing the corporate ladder and raising a family. It's tough to find time to be able to make a priority for everything. But don't grow discouraged. So be encouraged and invite them to Houston.
Yep.
Come and experience Texas. I know everybody's going to love it.
It's going to be like I was telling you earlier, it's going to be my first time in Texas, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, we got to sit down and have a cup of coffee together for sure. If you can find me, standing still, that's going to be the challenge.
Well, I'm in the same boat. Usually you can find me at night sitting with my division members, and usually at the end of the night, usually we have a big group around us anyhow. They're
I'll look for you for sure. And
oh
those are
yeah,
the things. Those are the things that make our reunions so valuable. They really are. Is those for me? It's those times that we get to, like when we first jumped on, I saw Jeffro logged in.
yep,
I met him at the reunion last year, and now he's a Facebook friend. And no, we don't know each other closely, but I know exactly who he is. I know the work that he does, the encouragement that I try to give him, and he gives me online. And it all
yeah.
started with a visit around the table at the reunion. So thankful for all that. And you're going to have multiple opportunities at this and any reunion to do just that. So, guys, I really encourage you to come. It's not too late to register, by the way, Sean. In fact, we're not even close to too late. We're still in the early bird registration. $75 is what it costs after June 1st. So just a few days from now, it does go up to $85. But we're going to take registrations all the way till July the 7th. The 7th is the day I will have to cut it off because at 10 days out, I have to turn in everything to the caterers and things along those lines. So just be aware that it's not too late at all to register. The only thing that's sold out is that San Jacinto tour. Everything's still available for people. Rooms are still available at the hotel, and I can add more rooms if we run out. So all over the website is an email that says contact us, and it emails directly to me on my phone, whether I'm in the office or out of the office during the day. I try to answer quickly. So if you have anything like I couldn't get a room because or any questions at all, just email me and I will try to answer as quickly as I can. In fact, I've been surprised a couple of times. People say, "Wow, that was a fast answer," because I happened to be sitting there at lunch when it came in, so I answered right away. Sometimes I can't, but I do try to. So
Now
rooms are available. All the tours except for San Jacinto are available,
yeah.
and you can even register at the lower rate of $75 up until the 1st of June.
Now, you touched up on this earlier. Our division chaplain had this question.
Okay.
The shuttle, is there shuttle services from the airport to the host hotel?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And they have no cost as well. I made sure of that. But
It-
everybody remember shuttle services that are free if you fly into Hobby. If you fly into Intercontinental, it's going to cost you some money to get over to the hotel. Because again, they're just two opposite sides. Remember, Houston's the third largest city in the United States. And we do have our traffic. So yes, there is absolutely a shuttle if you're flying into Houston Hobby. If you're flying to Intercontinental, you have to get yourself to the hotel.
Good to know.
Yeah, George
Kim,
Bush, George Bush Intercontinental it's a great airport. It's just the other side of town. You want Houston Hobby if at all possible.
Kim, hopefully that answered your question. Compliment came in for you.
Whoa, we need to pray for whoever this is. Oh, it's Jerry again.
Yep.
God bless you for a job well done, or SCV and UDC, and all your hard works for the reunion. Well, you can't say that yet, Jerry. Haven't pulled it off. But I promise you guys, I'm the kind of guy that when I'm doing the reunion, I'll be walking around filling your tea glass. I mean,
Okay.
I try to make sure everybody is taken care of, and I'll rest later. So please come, let me prove that to you. Thank you for the kind words. I hope I can earn that. But I've got a lot of work to do before we get through this. Lord willing, we'll have a great reunion, and it'll be one that everybody remembers fondly, not remembers with a disaster, but fondly.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. And just for seeing the comments that, oh, okay. Sorry, Ronnie, I did miss that one. It got,
Absolutely. Hey, I'm a little embarrassed, Sean. Who is our Florida Division commander? So I know who to look for.
that's Calvin Hart.
Okay, great. Looking forward to meeting
Yep.
him.
Yeah, Calvin Hart and Rick Roberts is our division adjutant.
Awesome.
Yeah, because Rick Roberts, Kim, is it Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights he has choir practice? Kim Hoffecker is our division chaplain.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I'm amazed tonight. We even had people from the Tennessee division join us tonight.
Oh, I love Tennessee.
Whoa.
I do love Tennessee. That's for sure. I
Oh,
got to
yeah,
meet
me
their
too.
commander, John Blankenship. I believe that's his last name. We had a dedication of a Texas historical marker at Franklin, Tennessee, and I was just blown away, impressed by John. I know they're in great hands, and I really truly believe John's going to be a great leader for us in the future. I really do. So I know Tennessee's in great hands, and all the men that I've met from Tennessee have just been wonderful.
All right, guys, we got some big shoes to fill. So let's when we get to Texas, please go up to Michael, shake his hand,
Yes, I'll have a cowboy hat
and
on.
give him a compliment.
I'll have a straw cowboy hat on the whole weekend. You won't be able to miss me.
Cool. All righty. It's at time of night again, guys. Michael,
Yes, sir.
Commander, I just want to say thank you for taking time out today and letting us know about the national reunion and a whole bunch of stuff that's going to affect the national reunion and any questions that came up.
Great. It's been a privilege. Thanks for doing all this, Sean. I'm sure it really helps with communication out there.
Well, that's why I do it. Yeah, to let our division members, not only SCV, UDC, and OCR members know what's going on in the state of Florida and anything that's going to affect our membership.
Amen.
Alrighty, guys, if you're feeling down and out, you need some uplifting, check out Psalms 23. It helps me out when I'm feeling down and out. Till next Wednesday, stay Southern, stay out of trouble, and may God bless you in your adventures this week. Till next Wednesday, we got Bob Highball coming on to give us the final update and review on the division reunion. Have a good night, everybody.
My name is Nelson W. Winbush. I'm a member of the Jacob Sumner Camp 1516 Sons of Confederate Veterans. My reason for joining the Sons of Confederate Veterans after the NAACP declared they would destroy and remove everything Confederate in 1990, I decided that I would do all I could to make sure that people understood what the Confederacy stood for.